People ask me all the time how to get here, like visa-wise specifically. How do you make it happen? How do you make it stick? And there's one really big hole, one very good opportunity that surprises me very frequently, if not almost always, people miss. It's fairly new. It's not that new. I feel like you should know about it, so I'm going to tell you about it. I've actually got 3 options that might work for you. And there's no one-size-fits-all option here, but I thought I'd cover those 3. I'm in the middle of leg day. I just did leg day. Now I'm running. Leg day runs are like always the worst.
The first, if you've been following me for any period of time, is probably the most obvious, and that's TEPIF. It's the English Assistantship Program. Oh my God, this is a bad idea. This is basically your last toy, isn't it, buddy? Yeah, this is like, we've got this guy who's literally on his last leg. And these are all of the innards that he's pulled out over the course of time, or that has just fallen out. And of course he always goes for the weak spot. Like he just knows, and he keeps going back to it, and he keeps making it worse. Here you go. So we're overdue for some new toys and a new chew for him. So we do need to go out and do a little bit of dog shopping. This is the one that I really want to replace. These Mountain Friends, these definitely a little bit torn up squeakers on the outside. They're really cute, and he loves them. Put this on, get a little bit more elevation, and then I'm a little bit safer from puppy kisses. And I just got my new lens for this camera. Just finally came today. And nobody warned me that that Boston Terriers are such farty creatures. Google it. It's terrible. Let's swap this out, and wow. Ooh. Okay. Wow, this lens feels amazing. I am a huge fan already. We'll see where this takes us. Okay, TEPIF, attempt number 3 here. TEPIF is basically a language assistant program where you come in and you're an English assistant to a teacher or working within a school about 12 hours a week. In anything from a high school to a middle school to an elementary school here in France. It can be pretty fun. It's a nice adventure as far as like you basically tell them the top 3 departments you want to be placed in, and then you find out where you're going. If you're open to going kind of anywhere in France, improving your French, you do have to speak French to get in. They want you to speak at least a B1 level of French to be accepted into the program. But aside from that, like, it's a great opportunity to do a little bit of a cultural exchange. It's an inroad. It is only like $735 a month, so take home pay. So you definitely are limited in how much you're going to be making while you're here. So if you don't have a little bit of extra support, some savings, or like a side hustle that you can continue doing while you're here, hopefully online from a distance, that is kind of a major drawback as far as like, it'll be pretty tight. They don't help you with housing either. So if you're willing to live here and be on the cheap, then it is a really cool experience. And that's why it can be ideal for somebody coming straight out of college. You are able to do it up to the age of 35, and you are able to do it twice. They haven't changed those rules yet. So if you're a little bit older and you're willing to do something a little bit on the cheap side to get an inroad, to get some practice teaching, to just spend some time in France, it's great. The limitations though, it's not a long-term visa. Like it lasts for like 7 or 8 months, and you can't convert it into anything else. So you do have to go home after that unless you re-up with the same visa one more time. And you also can't work when you're here. I mean, that you get that 12 hours a week, the government pays you. It's a pretty sweet deal in that sense, but then it's not a work visa. Like you can't get any other jobs above the table, at least, while you're here in France. So that's another limitation. The second option that I have for you though, while related to education, also opens the door to work here, which is only one among a few reasons that I think is actually a pretty fantastic option for a lot of people. But first we've got to get this guy a new cheesy chew and maybe some more toys, because his toy collection is severely lacking right now.
I just realized the pet store I want to go to is closed on Mondays, so I have a credit with another one. I can get 1 cheese stick, but we'll have to go get the toys tomorrow. Sorry, buddy. The other interesting option I would definitely go for is your master's. Like, you do have to pay to be here instead of getting paid to be here, but you're allowed to work. And if you get your master's here in France, they love that. They absolutely love that. So if you're looking to get your citizenship, it'll fast track you. You can get it down to like, I think a 3-year process instead of a 5-year process just to be eligible. And then you're even more likely to get it because if you've been educated in France, you're that much closer to being French in the eyes of the French administration. It's pretty sick. It's a pretty good deal. There are other student visas that you can get. You don't have to get a French master's to get going. You know, you could come here and learn French, which I think is probably like the most ideal way to learn French. Also not available to everybody, I realize, but if you can make it happen and come here to learn French, your French will go a lot faster, a lot farther, a lot faster, I would imagine. Granted, I learned in America and then came here, so I can't speak from experience on that one, unfortunately. I can say, though, that if you get your master's, like I said, it'll streamline a lot of the future for you, and it is a little bit of a loophole because there are master's programs here that aren't in French. You can get a master's in English. There's some really interesting international programs here, some cool stuff going on, so I can't help you figure that out. You're gonna have to find out what you're gonna study and how and where and why and whatever, but if you start doing the research, you might be able to find a program here that works for you. And if you're looking to get your master's or you're open to it, maybe it's the great way to start a new chapter. It's a really good visa, gives you the ability to work while you're here part-time and converts at the end into a work visa for 1 year, which will give you the time and the space to find a job that might keep you here permanently. And then you're set.
Got to get serious if you have it like
Yeah, well, I don't want you to take me seriously. That's totally fine. You want us to know what's going on, don't you, buddy? The last one that nobody seems to be picking up on, not nobody, I know a number of people that have done this over the last few years, and so it's kind of surprising that it's not better known. And every time I talk to somebody who's looking for options, they don't stumble on this, is a long stay tourist visa. It's something that they introduced 4 or 5 years ago, I think. Just have to prove that you're financially stable. It's really good for remote workers, anybody that can do their stuff online and make their money back home. They'll give you a year-long visa. You can come here. And the main thing really for figuring out how to stay here long-term is getting here. Once you get here, that's how you make your connections. That's how you learn the ropes. That's how you figure out if you even want to be here long-term. And if you do, it becomes significantly easier by being here. There's only so much you can do by internet. There's just a lot of stuff that's much easier by being on the ground. Highly recommend giving that a look, at least. You're gonna have to go to your consulate, whatever your local consulate or embassy is, to see what is available and how you go about doing it. But I think a lot of the process is online now, and hopefully at least somewhat streamlined as compared to when I've gotten my visas in the past, which were always nightmares. But there you go. There are 3 potential ways to get visas to come here, stay here for a little while. 1 pays you to be here. 2, you kind of have to pay to be here, but at least those 2 you can also make a little bit more money. So it's up to you to figure out what you do from here. But hopefully that was helpful.
Quick aside to say thank you to my Patron producer, Fred Hayes, and all my patrons for making this possible, of course. If you want to support the channel, that's probably the best way to go ahead and do that while I'm out bouncing around, you know, giving what advice I can.
And you're probably also thinking, like, well, there's so many other visa options out there, right? Like, what if I get sponsored for a job? Or what if I get married? Well, not everybody can get a job that'll sponsor them. It's actually pretty rare. I do know some people that have done it. Like some people, though, who did manage to do that. How'd you do that?
Magic.
You're just that talented.
Are you really recording me right now?
Yeah.
No, you gotta skills.
Especially if you're working for a big corporation. Like Amazon, for example, is a legitimate way of doing it. If you get an Amazon-esque job, that can work. Marriage, though, never works. Anybody that I've ever known that got married for a visa or did a relationship thing, it doesn't work very well. Odds are against it working out. That's all I'm trying to say. I don't want to poop on your parade. Like if you've got a romantic dream of getting, you know, hitched for a visa, I'm just not going to recommend that. But I think it's also really important to acknowledge that it's expensive. Like moving abroad I got very lucky that I was able to make my way because I had no money and very little like in the way of earning power or stability or any safety net whatsoever when I came over here. So the fact that it worked out for me, I recognize I was incredibly lucky. So I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that like I feel very lucky and it's not always easy to make this work. What are you doing over there? Oh, you're checking out that dog.